106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. I hope you're all staying warm out there. It's been another really cold week, although the weathercasters have said it's going to get a little bit warmer this weekend. Hopefully they'll be right this time, and we can get a little bit of relief from this tremendous cold front we've been dealing with. I would love to welcome to the show my co-host for the evening and always, Mr. Edward Heller.
Hello, and happy Pizza Friday once again, dear viewers. Although I don't have pizza. Yeah, it's always Pizza Friday on Friday.
Yes. So why do we always call it Pizza Friday? We should just have it sponsored by Ed's Pizza.
Well, or somebody's pizza. It doesn't have to be sponsored by mine.
Which reminds me, we were doing a show meeting the other night, Ed, Kira, and I, and we decided we're going to be having some kind of an enticement for our viewers to grow our subscribers and our viewership. And we don't know how or when we're going to integrate it yet, but it is going to involve a grand prize of one of Ed's famous deep dish pizzas and dinner with all three of us. So stay tuned for that. Do you remember some of the details and what we were trying to put together for that?
I think we were going to try to reach either a certain Patreon goal or a certain number of subscribers goal.
That's right.
And then when we reach that goal, we would have, I guess, a lottery.
Yeah, like a raffle.
Yeah, a raffle of the first, 50 or whatever. We don't have the number nailed down yet, but it would be a raffle of the number of subscribers, and one, maybe more than one. We'll have to figure that out. People can potentially win Chicago pizza dinner with Chicago Corner.
That's right. And speaking of Chicago Patreon subscribers, I want to thank Kathy Powers. I want to thank Dr. Howard Ehrman. I want to thank Dominic Palella, and I want to thank Shane Coughlin, our 4 current Patreon subscribers that are drawing us a big $20 a month over on Patreon. It's a start, and it's the thought that counts. So hopefully we can add to our Patreon subscriber base. $5 a month. There was some support, and in the future when we put that raffle together, win a delicious pizza dinner prepared by Ed. In which you can also sit with me, Ed, and Kira and talk about whatever you want. Big Mr. Firebird says he will have dinner with Oreo. Yes, he's the little attention whore here tonight. The moment I start the show, he's up here getting on the keyboard and putting his butt in my face. So let's see who's in the live chat tonight. We've got Warren, Extra Bulla. We've got Kathy Powers. We've got Kira Elliott. Here we go. Oh, so Kira's got the details. Let me pop this up here. Oreo, get off the keyboard. Jesus. All right, here we go.
Oh, that's right. Well, I meant patrons, but we could also do YouTube or Rockfin subscribers.
Yeah,
that's a good idea too. Maybe we could have a number of each of those.
Who else have we got joining us?
I got to tell you though, if you guys are getting in on a dinner party where I'm cooking something, it's going to be good.
I can absolutely vouch for that. Hey, Miguel H. Miguel H is also in the chat. Big Mr. Firebird. Anyway, let's get into the show. So the big story this week was the proposed ComEd deal brokered by Lightfoot blocked from advancing at the city council meeting, which I thought was absolutely hilarious because my opinion is, okay, ready for this, guys? I don't think city council really wants to block the ComEd deal. I think they want to block Lightfoot from having her moment before the election. Because I guarantee you, whoever wins after the election, they're going to move full steam ahead with this. What do you want to bet? What do you think, Ed?
I think the machine politicians that are still in there certainly want a deal like this to go through. I know there are alder creatures that are against this for a number of reasons, which I don't know if you want to cover the story before we get into all that.
Let's read the story first, and then we'll get into the elder creatures and some of the conversation we had pre-show. So this comes from Heather Sharon at the WTTW. In the wake of Commonwealth Edison's admission that it engaged in a years-long bribery scheme, a furious Mayor Lori Lightfoot warned the utility giant would have to make significant changes if it wanted to keep its lucrative city contract. But the proposed agreement that Lightfoot introduced to the Chicago City Council on Wednesday does not include a comprehensive ethics reform plan that rebuilds trust with the city, its residents, and its businesses as demanded by Lightfoot in a September of 2020 letter. I wonder why that is. Nor does the agreement, released early Wednesday by the mayor's office that she tried to ram down everybody's throats, require ComEd to stop charging late fees and disconnecting service for those who have not paid their bills, as demanded by the mayor in that same letter. Lightfoot will say anything and stand for nothing. Okay, I love that expression with some of our politicians. I use that a lot for Kamala Harris. But here she was grandstanding in 2020, right? Holding ComEd accountable. Now she wants to rush this through before the election to show that she brokered the deal without demanding any accountability from them to prevent what happened prior. Now, in a joint statement with ComEd released hours before she officially presented the massive deal to the city council, Lightfoot touted the agreement as a, quote, big win for Chicago that will accelerate an equitable transition to clean, renewable energy. ComEd CEO, why do I sound sarcastic and why do I sound cynical here, Ed? I mean, because whatever she says, just believe the opposite is essentially how you have to translate Lightfoot and probably 90% of our politicians.
Excuse me, Jerry. Excuse me. But this plan is electric. Boogie, oogie, oogie, oogie.
I'm still getting over that sore throat. Try not to make me laugh so hard. ComEd CEO Gil Quinones echoed Lightfoot, calling the 15 years we'd be stuck in this, like the parking meter deal, that will provide at least $100 million to be used in the city's fight against climate change, a win-win. Lightfoot told members of the city council she wants a final vote on the agreement March 1st, one day after Lightfoot and alder people asked voters for a new 4-year terms in office. However, Alderman Andre Vasquez of the 40th Ward used a parliamentary maneuver to block the agreement from advancing to a joint committee made up of members of the City Council's Finance and Environmental Protection and Energy Committees. Vasquez said a vote should not take place on the agreement until after the new term begins in May, when he hopes his candidate, Jesus the Stash Garcia, wins, and accused Lightfoot of attempting to rush a vote.
He's back in Chewy.
You didn't know that?
I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
He's there's so many people endorsing other. Oh, and we'll get into that too.
So let's go back to my original proposal. Okay, great. I think it's great Vasquez voted to block this agreement, but the fact that he is supporting the Stash, who is a career machine politician now and deeply, deeply embedded within the Democratic Party, that basically trotted him out as a counter to the possibility that Lightfoot, their other loyal soldier, goes under. They'll approve the Stash if he wins with this ComEd agreement. What do you want to bet? I mean, he's got ties. Some of his people had ties to Madigan, which he vehemently denied any knowledge of, which I would say if you didn't have knowledge of it, you're not doing your job, Congressman Garcia. Anyway, Vasquez said a vote should not take place on the agreement until after the new term begins in May and accused Lightfoot of attempting to rush a vote. Well, that much is true. Quote, "This all sounds like old Chicago to me," Vasquez said, noting that the Environmental Protection and Energy Committee does not have a chair. It had been led by former Alderman George Cardenas of the 12th Ward, who resigned in December. An effort by Lightfoot to circumvent the block thrown up by Vasquez by scheduling another city council meeting for February 7th, 3 weeks before Election Day. Why is she trying to rush this before Election Day, Ed?
I don't know, Jerry. Why
Optics?
would she be trying? But, well, yeah, for sure, it's definitely optics, Jerry. But also, I'm trying to get one in, past the goal, before they boot me out.
We can only hope she's right on that. So the effort to circumvent the block failed when she could not marshal enough votes to overcome the opposition. Instead, now we talked about the fact that there were no city council meetings in the middle of this month because we wanted to go and present our Chicago manifesto. By the way, our second story is going to talk about someone who did have an opportunity to speak on the floor, who was quickly marshaled by the city council security out of there because apparently his comments about the ComEd deal pissed off Lightfoot. I could only hope, Ed, that we got in there and said what we had against Lightfoot and got hauled out by the police. That would be a great story. I would love that book.
And not to throw too much info into this story, but the guy who got kicked out was part of Democratized ComEd.
Yes. We'll get to that in a second. All right. I know I kind of teased. I don't think I blew it. I teased it. But so here's the thing. So they had their city council meeting February 1st. They had no other council meetings scheduled for the middle of the month. Why would they? Lightfoot doesn't want anything to potentially derail her bid for winning the re-election February 28th, except she wanted to try to push this February 7th meeting very early in the month to also still buy her the other 3 weeks for nothing to possibly happen as she precariously tries to get to the finish line. Instead, the next city council meeting is scheduled for March 15th, 20 days before a likely runoff in the mayor's race and several city council contests. Although documents sent Monday to members of the Chicago City Council included promises of at least $520 million for hundreds of energy and equity community benefit projects to advance the 2022 Climate Action Plan, which promises to reduce carbon emissions in Chicago by 62% by 2040, only $100 million is guaranteed during the initial 15-year life of the deal. If the deal is extended for an additional 5 years, the city would get an additional $20 million. So let's recap this. Promises of $520 million to reduce carbon emissions by 2040, but they're only willing to put in $100 million during the initial 15-year life of the deal. How's that going to work? How are you going to rush that and basically get important infrastructure in place to make that happen by 2040 when you're only spending less than a quarter of your proposed promises of $520 million?
Well, and also, Jerry, this deal had a poison pill known as a 5-year delay for any ability or efforts to municipalize the electrical grid in Chicago, where the previous deal had no such clause at all. There was no 5-year ramp up or anything. So this basically would have screwed the next mayor. That's why she's
trying to rush it through. And hopefully, hope that no one had time to read it before she tried to ram it through the other day. You cannot nudge the camera. Come on. I know you want attention, but we're doing a show here. The proposal calls. He needs his own camera too.
Yeah.
No, it's, what the thing is, Ed, they will only focus on what we're focused on. You could give them everything to play with. They just want to look at what you're looking at. So there's no way around this, getting him his own keyboard or getting a camera lens. He just wants to look at what I'm looking at. The proposal calls for those funds to be administered by a new nonprofit organization to be run by officials appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council alongside representatives of ComEd. The rest of the funds would only materialize if a commitment for joint pursuit is successfully in getting funds from the state and federal governments. Separately, ComEd has agreed to spend $32.5 million on a new training facility on the city's west side to train 10,000 Chicagoans to work in the clean energy industry and hire an additional 1,000 South and West Side residents to work for the company in construction and customer service jobs. In addition, the announcement of the proposed agreement makes no mention of the city's self-imposed goals of reaching 100% renewable energy in city facilities by 2025 or increasing the number of charging stations for electric vehicles. Instead, the proposed agreement gives ComEd until January 1st of 2024 to propose to the Illinois Commerce Commission at least 3 new pilots or demonstration projects designed to investigate innovative grid technologies that could include electric car charging stations, according to the mayor's office. Those programs could be funded by the nonprofit organization, officials said.
Or ComEd could pay for those damn things, and they probably already have. So, like, this is all delay tactics for the inevitable municipalization of our electric grid in Chicago.
Yep. Spearheaded by Lori Lightfoot.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
So it's no wonder, Jerry. It's no wonder that they decide that somebody got pissed off enough to kick that guy from the DSA out of the city council meeting.
Well, and the suspicion goes to our dearly reviled Madame Mayor, Lori Lightfoot. But let's finish this up and we'll get into that in a moment. Because I saw a tweet by Alderman LaSpada talking about how someone was removed and they didn't do anything wrong, and LaSpada was encouraging the resident to file a formal complaint against the police and against city council, because this was clearly a violation of freedom of speech within the bylaws of city council meetings. He didn't do anything wrong. All right, back to ComEd. Negotiations derailed by scandal. The scandal engulfing ComEd fueled calls backed by the Chicago chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America for the city to form its own electric utility and cut ties with ComEd and its parent company, Exelon. Excellent idea. The leaders of that effort blasted the agreement Lightfoot reached with ComEd in a statement released Tuesday. Quote, "The proposed new franchise agreement with ComEd that is to be introduced in city council tomorrow fails to meet the needs of Chicago for a future with clean, affordable, and reliable electricity, and chooses to instead continue business as usual with a corrupt private business profiteering off of ratepayers," according to the statement. Exhibit D of the franchise agreement is a 6-page document that details ComEd's ethics policies that were last updated in the summer of 2020 in an effort to allay concerns about the utility giant's admission in July of 2020 that firm officials arranged jobs, contracts, and payoffs to associates of former House Speaker Michael Madigan in return for the powerful lawmakers' support for laws that allowed ComEd to hike electricity rates. The firm agreed to pay a $200 million fine to resolve federal corruption charges. That's probably a year of late fees that they collect from the rest of us.
It's a slap on the wrist.
That's exactly what it is. Corporate death penalty. Why are we not lobbying for that here in the United States when corporations are clearly not only charged, but revealed to engage in horribly corrupt practices that don't just impact ratepayers, but literally they've got their tentacles all around our elected representatives that are not representing us.
And that's why they don't have it. Yeah.
So I would say that along with the statement that the Democratic Socialists of America released, they might want to also see if we can band together and demand that. A spokesperson for the mayor acknowledged that the ethics provisions included in the proposed franchise agreement were put in place by ComEd in July of 2020 and not changed after the mayor's letter demanded initial changes. The agreement, quote, requires ComEd to report annually to the city on any changes, if applicable, to its ethics policies and practices and other subjects relevant to its ongoing and comprehensive ethics reform program, according to a statement from the mayor's office. And I'm sure that they're relying on them to self-enforce themselves, to annually report those changes that they will never actually integrate. In addition, A state law passed after the mayor's letter requires ComEd to file an annual ethics and compliance report to the Illinois Commerce Commission, according to the mayor's office, which pledged to actively monitor throughout the term of the agreements. Excuse me. ComEd's legal woes will be back in the news in March when former Exelon executive Ann Pramaggiore, former ComEd government relations vice president, and later lobbyist John Hooker. Does that guy's name just say it all as far as I'll refrain. Former City Club of Chicago. I made that joke in a prior show. Former City Club of Chicago President Jay Doherty and former Madigan aide Michael McLean are scheduled to stand trial for their role in the scheme that arranged jobs, contracts, and payoffs for the former Speaker's associates to win his crucial support. All have pled not guilty because, of course, they did. Nothing to see here. Graft as usual. Same shit, different day in the state of Illinois. That trial, which could reveal new information about the scheme that upended Illinois politics, could complicate Lightfoot's efforts to win quick approval for the proposed agreement. Lightfoot's 3-page letter in September 2020 demanded changes to how it seeks payment from ratepayers. Lightfoot demanded the utility stop demanding deposits from customers before starting service, end late fees, and stop sending unpaid bills to collection agencies. In addition, the mayor asked ComEd to tie payments to customers' financial resources as the city does for water and sewer charges. Okay. Good proposals.
None of it ended up in the thing she wanted to pass.
Of course not. We need to look at Illinois Sunshine and see how much money ComEd or any of its associated executives are donating to Lori's campaign. Mm-hmm. However, the statement from the mayor's office acknowledged that the city cannot stop disconnections, which are regulated by the Illinois Commerce Commission. The proposed agreement with the city of Chicago simply calls for more than 100 energy assistance ambassadors. They're ambassadors, Ed, to help people get help paying their bills to avoid shutoffs, but does not include any of the mayor's demands designed to address economic hardship across Chicago. The news of the agreement between Lightfoot and ComEd officials came just hours before a report compiled by the Energy and Policy Institute, the Center for Biological Diversity, and Bailout Watch revealed that ComEd canceled services for 225,827 accounts through October of 2022, an increase of 27% from the same 10 months in the prior year. Earlier this month, ComEd officials asked state officials to allow it to hike rates by approximately $1.5 billion during the next 4 years, in which time they will probably cancel service for another 225,827 accounts that cannot afford the costs of that rate hike. The average ratepayer would see their monthly bill increase by $17 for the delivery of electricity by 2027. It's going to be more than $17, I guarantee you that, if the rate hike is approved according to ComEd. An excrement company. Excellent.
Yeah. So that bill got blocked. And since yesterday was Groundhog Day, we had comments like this. One from Alderman Andre Vasquez, who says, the ComEd deal saw its shadow this morning. It won't be moving forward for at least another 6 weeks.
All right, good one. Good one on him.
And it's also funny, Jerry, because you mentioned that he's serious about the another 6 weeks, because he's supporting Chewy, who would probably ram that thing right through.
That's right.
If he wanted to.
That's right. That's my fear. I would hope that Alderman Vasquez would prove me wrong if Garcia or any other mayor got in there other than Lori, and this wasn't just about stealing her moment before the election. Mm-hmm. But time will tell. We'll have to see if they will prove us wrong here as far as what their actual motives were here to derail this lame duck mayor. All right, so also related to city council news. Now, this is what I saw on Twitter the other day from, of course, it's too small. Let me enlarge it here. Alderman Daniel Laspada shared earlier today at City Council, a First Ward resident who had given public comment had been sitting quietly at their seats for 2 hours and had been sitting quietly at their seats for 2 hours, was involuntarily expelled from the council chambers by police officers and the sergeant at arms. I am genuinely disturbed by what happened and its implications for the civil liberties of our residents. All Chicagoans, regardless of their political affiliations or policies, have the right to petition their elected officials and participate in city council meetings. Please know that I have already encouraged our resident to file a complaint with the Office of the Inspector General, and I will personally be following up on this issue. Oh, there I am. I tagged this so I would find it in preparation for tonight's notes, or tonight's stories that we want to cover. So a lot of people in that thread asked, what was this about? And unfortunately, in that thread, La Spada did not qualify what had happened. However, it was ultimately released by WTTW, and this was this morning, the reasons that resident was ejected from city council. Chicago police eject resident who spoke against ComEd deal from the city council meeting. Now, Ed, do you have this? I'm going to send you this link. I'm going to try to play audio in the hopes that my audio runs from my browser. But let me have you ready in private chat as a backup.
Oh, you want the video from this story?
Yeah, I'm going to play it right now. Okay. And if it doesn't play, I'll rely on you bringing it up. Let's see if we have
Okay, I've got it if you need it.
Audio?
Not hearing it.
Okay, go ahead and run yours.
All right.
In order to mitigate
Well, let's back up to the beginning.
My name is Sean Estelle. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm currently serving as a volunteer elected leader of Chicago Democratic Socialists of America as the campaign's coordinator. 5 years ago, I was made aware of the upcoming renegotiation of the franchise agreement between ComEd and the city by Alderman Rosa. Along with a team of other volunteers, we quickly learned as much as we could about the previous franchise agreement process, when then Mayor Daley was able to successfully leverage enough funding from ComEd in order to create and staff the original Department of Environment based on monetary concessions through threat of municipalization, and devise a campaign strategy to democratize ComEd, calling for municipalization, a shorter franchise agreement, a progressive rate structure for businesses and individuals, and other elements that could push towards short and long-term benchmarks towards a future of serious mitigation and adaptation to the climate crisis.
Can you pause it for a second? There's nothing unreasonable or disrespectful in this guy's presentation. Go ahead. As far as I'm concerned.
Individuals and other elements that could push towards short and long-term benchmarks towards a future of serious mitigation and adaptation to the climate crisis. A once-in-a-lifetime chance for Chicago to be a true climate leader. All of this occurred in the context of the 2019 electoral cycle, when huge upheavals and realignments occurred thanks to the electoral victories of DSA endorsed candidates Carlos Ramirez Rosa, Rosanna Rodriguez Sanchez, Jeanette Taylor, Byron Sigcho Lopez, and Andre Vasquez, and many other first-time challengers.
Good to get
like
those
Matt
props
Martin,
in.
Maria Haddon, and others. The movement for public power in other major cities like New York was also starting to snowball rapidly, and in July of 2019, there was a 24-hour period when a resolution was introduced by city council members in Chicago demanding a feasibility study on municipalization of ComEd, as well as a press conference from Bill de Blasio and other New York City electeds saying that municipalization and public power might be an effective response in order to mitigate ongoing harm being done by Con Ed in New York. Fast forward to today, when we have a mayoral candidate flagging in the polls, flailing for solid political ground to stand on, who has not only ceded the red lines that she put forward in back rooms with corrupt ComEd leadership, but also has put forward a draft franchise agreement that spits in the face of demands put forward by the Democratized ComEd campaign and our aldermanic champions. A ban on municipalization is worse than the current language and precludes all ability for Democrats.
He has every goddamn right to say that. And you know what? For as irreverent as we get on this show, he was actually respectful in his criticism towards her.
No,
that didn't even come close to how we bash her here, or how we would bash her if we went there. So this guy is like firing on all cylinders. Go ahead.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
Democratic control, true community engagement, and accountability to ongoing and evolving decarbonization goals set by those most impacted by the harmful effects of the climate crisis. A 15-year franchise agreement rather than a 5 or 10-year agreement is something that is out of step with the basic reality of climate science and the ways in which we will need to constantly adapt and readapt to the material conditions of what basic influence goods and services to keep the lights on and the heat running do to add to the parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. I'm speaking directly on behalf of the thousands of members of the Chicago chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, the largest socialist organization in the country, to inform you that these are red lines, that we will out-organize Lori Lightfoot and anyone who takes her side, and that we will see a bright, prosperous, just future with democratic public ownership of not only our electric utility, but every single part of our society. If you see this or you read this, I hope that you will join us in the fight to elect and re-elect our 11 endorsed socialist candidates and build the movement for democratic socialism for decades to come.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo. Bravo.
Can I just do this?
No.
Yes!
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on your Lori, but
When I'm running the bus, let me push the buttons first.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
Okay.
yeah.
That was her response.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. And then, so that guy was from Democratized ComEd, and I guess he's also a member of DSA for the Chicago chapter of DSA, which a good number of those members are aldermen and women in city council right now. So, and you heard him shout them out. A little bit of fallout update from Daniel Laspada's defense of this speaker.
I haven't even read the story yet from Chicago Tribune, though, Ed.
All I wanted to do was show the photo, if that's okay. Jerry.
I know, but I haven't gone into the details of why he was ejected.
Okay,
Please.
no. I just talking about somebody smashed Laspada's windows in his office.
I was going to get to that after the TTW article.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
So
jumping the gun.
I mean, I've got a show note here, and I'm following stuff. So just let me just unfurl the show as I've planned and prepared it. In the 2 hours that I spend ahead of time.
I'm putting myself on double secret probation, Gary.
Thank you. Just let me lead, and I'm all for having you throw stuff in. Just let me you're throwing off my rhythm. Okay, so Chicago police officers ejected a leader of the Chicago chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America from the city council chambers during Wednesday's city council meeting after they said the deal Mayor Lloyd Lightfoot brokered with Commonwealth Edison spit in the face of efforts to fight climate change and prevent corruption. Sean Estelle told WTTW News that they believed they were politically targeted because their remarks angered Lightfoot. After Estelle was removed by officers, Lightfoot failed to marshal enough support on the city council to fast-track the deal's approval. Now, representatives of Lightfoot and the Chicago Police Department did not respond to a detailed list of questions from WTTW News about Estelle's removal. On February 28th, Lightfoot will ask Chicago voters for a second term in office while facing 8 challengers. If Estelle was removed because of the political content of their remarks, it would be a violation of their First Amendment rights as well as the City Council's rules permitting members of the public to comment on the items on the City Council's agenda without facing retaliation. Wearing a red jacket emblazoned with the DSA logo, Estelle was the first person to speak in person during the public comment portion of the meeting, as we saw, scheduled to be the last before the election. After their remarks, they sat in the gallery and waited through hours of honorary resolutions wanting to witness the introduction of the proposed 15-year deal. Estelle did not disrupt the meeting at any point, according to footage of the meeting recorded by WTTW News and observed by a reporter. Estelle said they hadn't even spoken to anyone else at the meeting before being approached by a police sergeant and being asked to leave the chambers. It was extremely fucking scary, Estelle said, adding that they did not know whether they were being arrested or charged with a crime. The sergeant and other officers who are stationed at City Hall as part of an increased security presence ordered by Lightfoot after protesters occupied the 5th floor of City Hall outside her office in 2019, declined to answer questions from Estelle about why they were being removed from the chambers. The officers told Estelle they acted at the request of City Council Sergeant-at-Arms Alvin Starks, who was responsible for maintaining order in the council chambers. Estelle asked to see, in writing, the rule that they were accused of violating. However, Estelle was only shown a written copy of the City Council's rules for order and said they violated rule number 50. However, that rule only allows the sergeant at arms to remove members of the City Council who act in a lewd and disgraceful manner or who uses opprobrious, obscene, or insulting language, and can only be enforced after a 2/3 vote by the City Council. Did we see a 2/3 vote there?
No.
No.
And also opprobrious?
Yeah.
I've never heard that word before.
Me neither. Estelle's remarks were neither lewd nor obscene, although Lightfoot may well have been insulted. And you know what? Tough titty, if she was.
Yeah, they're still allowed to make the comment.
Estelle said their protestations were shrugged off and they eventually left City Hall. It was very scary at first and then extremely infuriating, Estelle said. I'd been waiting for that moment for 5 years.
Wow.
So clearly, I don't know that we're going to get that much of a chance to like inject our Chicago Corner manifesto into City Council in any short amount of time. And I'm angry I was not able to observe the debate. In a statement, the leaders of the Chicago DSA said they believed the decision by officers to cite the City Council's rule was poorly improvised cover for the actual motivation, political retaliation. Chicago DSA has endorsed 11 candidates for the Chicago City Council. Starks reports to 8th Alderman Michelle Harris, who serves as Lightfoot's floor leader and is the chair of the Rules Committee. So let's follow this. Starks, who is the sergeant of arms, reports to Alderman Michelle Harris, who serves as Lightfoot's floor leader and is the chair of the Rules Committee. I wonder if anybody has video of like her passing a little note to Starks right before Estelle's was removed. Quote, I was never made aware that Sean Estelle was being removed yesterday, Harris said in an emailed statement to WTTW News. Nor the Sergeant at Arms staff had any involvement with the removal of Estelle from the City Council chambers during the February 1st, 2023 meeting. Estelle,
what?
So what does that say about the chain of command then? Is there one?
But they said that the Sergeant at Arms ejected him, so that's a lie.
Them. Yeah.
Them.
Well, I would say him too, but I just want to make sure we don't get nailed for improper pronoun use. You know what my
I didn't even catch that at the beginning, except somebody mentioned it in the chat. I'm like, oh, did they identify their pronouns at the beginning of that? I'm like, okay.
He did in the video, and they are relating to them as them in the WTTW article.
All right. Yeah, I have no problem using pronouns if I know what they are or was paying attention. So I mean no offense.
My pronouns are bat and man. Estelle led the effort backed by the Chicago DSA designed to convince city officials to form its own electric utility, allowing it to cut the city's ties with ComEd. Estelle published their remarks at the City Council online. Estelle told the City Council during the meeting that the 2020 expiration of the city's deal with ComEd, inked in 1992, was a once-in-a-lifetime chance for Chicago to be a true climate leader. Speaking on behalf of Chicago DSA's members and its endorsed candidates, Estelle took direct aim at Lightfoot, saying she is flagging in the polls, flailing for solid political ground to stand on. Estelle also accused Lightfoot of making a backroom deal with the corrupt ComEd leadership and said she has an absolute inability to understand the basic dynamics of political leverage. Lightfoot, who opposed efforts to cut ties with ComEd, made a deal with the utility giant that spits in the face of the demands put forward by the Democratized ComEd campaign. Okay, we heard that in the video. Now, several members of the City Council objected to Estelle's objection after they were removed. That is kind of confusing when we say they were removed, because then it sounds like there was a whole bunch of people removed, but that's just
that's one of the little hinky parts of identifying as a plural, because then grammar people get a little crazy, and I'm actually one of the grammar people who's like, okay, yeah, they is just a singular in this case.
Yeah, and I'm getting confused by like, well, wait, only Estelle was removed, but now you're saying they. Oh, because of the pronouns, it's Estelle. It didn't mean more people were with him. Anyway, back to the paragraph. so we can all follow it without being confused by the pronoun issue. Several members of the city council objected to Estelle's ejection after they were removed, including Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez of the 25th, who did so before the meeting ended after it erupted in chaos. Sigcho Lopez called for Inspector General Deborah Witzberg to investigate the incident. Removing a democratized comment leader from council chamber underscores this mayor's issues with transparency and public scrutiny, said Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa of the 35th Ward, who introduced a measure Wednesday that would require at least 90 days of review before a new deal with ComEd could be ratified. So there you have it. There's a lot to unwrap there. And Ed, I didn't mean to get
yeah, Jerry, I'm sorry. I realize you easily get distracted by.
Yeah. So I didn't mean to come down hard. It's just like when I have stuff lined up, it's like I'm following a flow of stuff. So please don't take it personally.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I thought you might have not been on your radar about Laspada's office windows getting smashed.
Well, it was actually. Yeah, I had actually had it in earlier show notes, and I was just going to reference it. But let's bring up that tweet again. Yeah. So, well, I was going to mention it within the context of this. Now we have no solid evidence that because I was going to say, and Laspada's windows were smashed after he posted the tweet about this guy getting ejected. Is there a connection? We don't know if there's a connection or not. Okay. We're just speculating here, but it is odd that after Laspada took to Twitter and brought attention to the fact that Estelle was ejected from city council. Go with it. Share with us what it says, Ed.
Yeah, it says, from ejecting constituents out of city hall meetings to vandalizing Daniel Laspada's grassroots campaign office, political retribution is up in Chicago. But we won't be intimidated. We won't back down from doing what's right for the working class. And that was Democratized ComEd's Twitter account.
Yeah. Yeah. So who knows if there was a connection or not. There are 3 candidates running in the first. There's incumbent Laspada, Sam Royko, and do I have it in the show notes about I think I remember. Let's see here. No, I did remove it. Because the show notes that reference the fact. Oh, it was a Block Club Chicago article. Mm-hmm. It was in the edited show notes. I pulled it out. But Block Club had done a story on the broken windows and also mentioned who else was running in the ward. Although I don't think the broken windows had anything to do with the aldermanic race there. I think that this was potentially political retribution. I don't know. Curiouser and curiouser.
Yes. Oh, should we take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters, Jerry?
We can again, sure. We did at the top of the show, but let's thank them again. Are there any tips on Rockfin?
We don't have tips on Rockfin.
Okay. But yeah, we would like to thank again Dominic Palella, Kathy Powers, Shane Coughlin, and Dr. Howard Ehrman. And by the way, I didn't miss it, Kathy. I did see Kathy did give us a $1 super chat, so you know what that means. Thanks for the super chat, Kathy. The super chat, I said? I almost said super shit.
Oh, that's a whole other thing, Jerry.
Oh, nice. Fred Edward is sharing us on Twitter.
Oh,
nice
is that on my thing? Oh,
yeah, it's on your thing. I mean, intentional or not, I'm always happy to see our viewers sharing show links to our show to help build our numbers and subscribers.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing our stream. Because the more viewers we get, the more possibility we'll get more viewers. Because that's a weird thing that algorithms do.
Yeah. More people will discover us and say, "Hey, we like these guys," or "Get them out of here." We hope it's the former. All right, so moving on, a subject that's very, very sensitive to all of us here in Chicago is the plight of the homeless. WGN TV Chicago News 9 reports that the U.S. Secretary for the Department of Housing and Urban Development came to Chicago Thursday to announce $300 million in grants to combat homelessness across the country. This is very, very good news. Secretary Marcia Fudge appeared alongside Mayor Lori Lightfoot to officially award $60 million to the city of Chicago and its community partner, All Chicago, meant to help families and individuals get off the streets and into homes. Of the 46 communities receiving a piece of the total $300 million, Chicago was the largest recipient. Fudge and Lightfoot shared their remarks at Brainerd Park Apartments, a residential complex which provides housing for low-income families, including those who are considered homeless. According to the apartment's website, the 36-unit structure was created by Chicago-based nonprofits, Christian Community Health Center, and Full Circle Communities. The complex first opened in September of 2018 and targets renters earning between 30 and 60% of the area median income, with 8 units specifically for renters defined as homeless by the Federal Home Loan Bank. So that was a bit of good news. Not a very long story, but welcome information.
Yeah. And also, Fudge and Lightfoot would make a great title for like a buddy cop movie.
I got a bet. How about a buddy? Well, I was going to say prison, but we don't know that Fudge has done anything bad.
Oh, a prison roommate movie.
Yeah, but Fudge. Yeah, but that's being mean to Fudge. So
yeah,
that's ill-advised.
I already have a prison partner, and it's not Fudge.
All right. The next big story of the week. I saw this. Kira commented on it in our Slack discussion pre-show. Here we go. For mayor, the Tribune editorial board endorses Paul Vallas. And do you know why they endorsed Paul Vallas, Ed?
Because he's white and Republican, Jerry.
That and the fact that Bernie Epton is dead.
Oh, yeah. So
there's that.
What I said. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Now, in 1983, the Tribune endorsed Daley during the primary against Washington. I was looking to find out if the Tribune endorsed Epton after Daley lost that primary to Washington, but I couldn't find anything in the archives. By the way, the Sun-Times did endorse Washington in the 1983 election. But I was suddenly taken back to that Harold Washington documentary we saw, Punch 9 for Harold Washington. Because you know what? Up till now, I don't think anybody had been taking Vallas seriously. And now the Tribune endorses him, along with the Fraternal Order of Police. So you know the Tribune is for law and order. Anyway, let's get into the article. By the editorial board, okay? So this is not, there are members on the editorial board, and this was their voted on choice. Chicagoans tend to be weather-hardened stoics and scandal-scarred realists. We are. Tribune, did you forget about the sexual abuse scandal under Paul Vallas when he was superintendent of schools that wasn't investigated? How quickly they forget. That was part of his legacy as superintendent of Chicago Public Schools. But now it's okay for him to run for mayor because he's lily white and rich and claims he's a Democrat when he should be running as a Republican with the Fraternal Order of Police's endorsement. Anyway, I digress. Yet we're mostly an upbeat crew, fiercely proud of our beautiful city. But if you read the most recent Harris poll, you'll see most voters are profoundly pessimistic about post-election Chicago. When thinking about the key issues that face us, such as public safety, there's that dog whistle, most of us apparently believe things are going to keep getting worse. This is an aberration in terms of our collective historical trajectory, as cheered on by this newspaper for more than 175 years, and it cannot stand. Demonstrably, Chicago is a city in need of a turnaround, and in Paul Vallas, we're endorsing a smart, passionate, and experienced candidate, except when it comes to investigating sexual abuse during your tenure as the superintendent of Chicago Public Schools, who has a long specialized in doing precisely that, experience. Unapologetically wonkish, the Chicago-born Vallas, who was CEO of Chicago Public Schools from 1995 to 2001, in which they keep forgetting that major scandal.
By the way, Jerry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the reason why he was CEO is because he couldn't qualify to be a superintendent.
Oh, I'm sorry, CEO. Thank you for the correction. Okay.
No, you said CEO, but I'm saying that,
Well, I think I also mentioned him. I think I also referenced him as a superintendent. So,
oh, did you? Okay.
I did. So thanks for the correction. And of the schools district of Philadelphia from 2002 to 2007, after they ran him out of town here in Chicago after 2001, he successfully positioned himself as the candidate with detailed plans and fresh ideas, more money for the police, and his nationally recognized expertise in city financing, policing, and public education, the three components of city life most in dire need of attention. Really? Really? Expertise in public education. Why wasn't he paying attention to what was happening while he was CEO? Tribune? Thank you. Always there. Thank you, Jake and Elwood. Vallas has the ear of rank and file police officers on the street.
Okay. Don't they need both ears?
We will expect him to use that trust to improve police conduct. And the abysmal clearance rate for violence offenses, Sherry will. Similarly, we will hold him accountable to implement as many plans for improving the education of CPS students, young people who suffered greatly during the COVID-19 crisis and now deserve to be at the top of the list for the next mayor's priorities. And we expect him to use his experience as municipal budget director under Mayor Richard M. Daley from 1990 to 1993 to run a tight fiscal ship and bring property tax relief to cash-strapped Chicagoans. How the fuck did Richard M. Daley run a tight fiscal ship for anybody except his corporate cronies? Especially after he blew through the parking meter deal money in what, a year? Billions of dollars in that parking meter deal gone in like a year or two. And we're still stuck with them collecting the parking meter money and also shipping it over to Dubai. Because I think Dubai is like a member of the conglomerate that is behind that parking meter deal that bought our city's parking meters. Now, Tribune also says we're not among the current mayor's fervent detractors, although we note their abundance. Lori Lightfoot steered this city through the COVID-19 crisis far better than most mayors. With the help of federal largesse, she has greatly improved Chicago's finance. They're hedging their bet here, Ed. They want to be in her good graces in case she wins. Otherwise, why would they even go here and say this shit?
And it was a pretty low bar as far as mayors managing through the lockdown. It was, I mean, because we don't even, we could get into what New York did and didn't do, and what Illinois planned to do and didn't do, or, what the governor planned to do, and Lori decided to just, attach her coattails to that. It's like all she really did was basically just follow the directions of whatever the Dems wanted her to do.
Pretty much. How many schools did Vallas and Rom close? They're all about the property safety is what it comes down to. So the Tribune continues to kiss Lightfoot's ass here. With the help of federal largesse, she has greatly improved Chicago's financial condition. What? Has she? Lightfoot has placed equity front and center for her. How has she improved Chicago's financial condition with the property taxes that went up? Oh, I guess that's how she improved it. By basically burdening the backs of Chicago taxpayers with improving tourism downtown and not funneling money to these communities that she's abandoned, that are riddled with crime, that if you got to the root causes, you wouldn't have to keep shoveling money to the police department and see absolutely no lowered rate in crime statistics. Go ahead, Lori.
I was just going to say I'm actually kind of enjoying this story because I'm actually I'm second. Someone's actually choosing me as a second choice in anything right now, and that's amazing to me.
How frightening is that, Chicago? That the Tribune thinks that Vallas, who's endorsed by the Fraternal Order, the Fascist Order of Police, the FOP, and Lightfoot are the two top contenders to continue steering the city of Chicago into oblivion with no investment in communities, more police presence everywhere. Lightfoot has placed equity front and center of her agenda and has worked tirelessly to improve. If I was drinking water right now, I would have done a spit take. And has worked tirelessly to improve the economic prospects of long, struggling neighborhoods. The Chicago Teachers Union has been a consistent thorn in her side, as they should be. And in all fairness, many of the most vexing issues that plague our city also are part of the downtown picture in San Francisco, Seattle, Philadelphia, and elsewhere. It's almost like they're giving her a mulligan on this because it's happening elsewhere. And while many have complained bitterly about her temperament and lack of both collaboration and transparency, no one credible has impugned Lightfoot's personal ethics or integrity outside of the campaign trail, at least. Yet, we haven't finished waiting for what happens with this investigation with trying to recruit CPS students as slave labor interns in her campaign. That's not a matter of ethics and integrity. The buck doesn't stop with her. Now, the Tribune goes on to say, and this is funny, okay? She would be our number 2 choice. And you know what number 2 stands for. And should there be a runoff, she should be the one facing off against Vallas. Oh my God, we're in the dystopian nightmare. But despite her formidable intellect and command of the issues, Lightfoot... Okay, so let's see an example of her formidable intellect and command of the issues. There you go. Right there. Got it? There we go.
That's some command there.
That is command right there. That's Lori in command. Oh, here's more regarding her. I don't care. We're gonna get a copy. I don't care. She's a clown, Ed. She is the greatest clown Chicago has had since Bob Bell retired as Bozo, as far as I'm concerned. All right. So despite her formal intellect and command of the issues, Lightfoot has been reluctant to see this moment as time for any kind of leadership reboot. In essence, she's fervently defended her record, so she's doubled down and said that she has revealed no plans to change her personal style or her key team, including her unpopular police superintendent. But they're acknowledging he's an unpopular police superintendent, but they're still going to vote for her second. They're still going to support her second after Vallas. She has not said she plans to operate so as to create more and firmer alliances among the roiling constituencies that make up the city. She does not see the need, and we sympathize given all the noise she faces, but we also think she's not fully reading the moment. How kind of them. Among the other candidates, we've heard little in the way of specifics from Jesus the Stash Garcia. Okay, well, that's true. That gives us confidence we can transform this city for the better. We're also troubled by his association with former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan's unsavory, cloud-oriented ways, which went beyond necessity. True, but Lightfoot had some ties there too, didn't she?
Well, clearly, she's still got connections in the same ways Chewy did, because otherwise she wouldn't be trying to shovel this 15-year monstrosity through.
That's right. We find many of Willie Wilson's pronouncements on the campaign trail to have been either ridiculous or harmful, notwithstanding our admiration of his personal success and his philanthropy. The Tribune, it's like they're blowing everybody. They're criticizing, but they want to make sure they don't burn bridges with Wilson. Okay.
No, because he's got money.
That's right. That's right. And he's just as right-leaning as they are. Now, Brandon Johnson is smart and loquacious, but many of his radical proposals to raise taxes result in a further erosion of Chicago's tax base because people with the ability to leave would pack their bags. So wasn't his tax proposal misrepresented? I think we reported on that like a show back. Do you recall the specifics of that?
They were saying that he was going to increase everybody's property taxes or something based on income. I don't remember the specifics, but I remember his response was that some of the things that people have been saying was false, and some of the criticisms of the plan that he put out there he's like he may be rethinking, because he's going to be one of those mayors who actually talks to the public and interacts with them and is responsive to their concerns. Not all mayors are going to be like he is going to be. I mean, Lightfoot is clearly the opposite of that. She doesn't want to hear from anybody who has an opinion even close to hers or far away. If it's not what she wants, she's offended and doesn't want to hear from you.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
See what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I threw that in there. Now, here's another interesting thing that they're blaming Brandon for that was under Lightfoot. And he has not acknowledged the harm done to kids by prolonged school closures, in part because he does not want to annoy his CTU benefactors. What does that have to do with him? That was under Pritzker and Lightfoot.
No, that was a systemic failure on a lot of levels with a whole bunch of people.
But what is it? They're basically dog whistling here. This has nothing.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with.
No, they're trying to blame him.
Policy. Yeah.
They're trying to blame him for the lockdown, basically. I'm like, I mean, a lot of people made bad choices back then. We didn't have all the information, and then some of the information fed to us was false. Some of it intentionally false. So, without getting into details that'll get us completely demonetized or kick off YouTube, let's just say mistakes were made.
Now, here's an interesting statement they make, because as far as I'm concerned, I forget that Sophia King is running, because she hasn't said anything that's caught my attention. But the Tribune thinks progressive voters would be on stronger, safer ground with Alderman Sophia King. Fourth, a likable, even-handed alderman whose ward encompasses both struggling neighborhoods and a good chunk of downtown, giving her experience on both sides of one of Chicago's most vexing and self-defeating battlefronts, most of whose campaign platform I've only recalled has been about giving more money to cops and hiring more cops. Do you remember anything else that she said that stands out aside from that? Because that's what I always hear from her.
But I think if she was watching the show right now, what she'd say is, "Oh, I agree with everything that Jerry just said, and I just want to cooperate and make sure that everyone's cooperating with everyone else."
Even because as the Tribune says, she's a likable, even-handed alder person. Now,
and it's okay.
Alderman Roderick Sawyer of the 6th is similarly reasoned and thoughtful, although unlikely to gain enough traction. And while we don't agree with many of his positions, especially on matters of education, we admire State Representative Cam Buckner, another inspiring figure who should be part of Chicago's future political leadership. I agree with that.
Okay.
He's impressed me. Now, here we go. Because they've got to mention his age, which I think is irrelevant, but I will give them credit for where they go here, despite the fact, because you know what, if they really believed this, they wouldn't be endorsing Vallas. As for 27-year-old Jamal Green, we consider him among the city's best and brightest, a young man who already has done much to mitigate danger on our streets, but he is not yet ready to be the city's mayor. King, Sawyer, Buckner, and Green all could be helpful to Vallas should he win. Now, let's all keep in mind, King, Sawyer, Buckner. Well, let's go with King and Sawyer here, as well as Vallas. They're the ones who claim they've got the experience that hasn't really changed or improved anything.
No.
But they do say King, Sawyer, Buckner, and Green all could be helpful to Vallas should he win. Do you see Vallas paying any attention to Jamal Green? Come on. Tribune.
You're gaslighting us now, Tribune.
Totally. Well, they're gaslighting us with trying to encourage progressive voters. Look what they're doing, Ed. They're trying to basically spoil the vote by guiding progressive voters to Sophia King. They have no idea what a progressive is. A progressive in this city is radical, and that's what Jamal is, and that's what we want. That's what real progressives want. They want radical change, not the same experience that's brought us where we are right now. And you know what? I'll say this too. if Green were to win and his lack of experience or his age didn't come up to par with what we hope he would accomplish, I'd say he needs to be replaced also. But why aren't you giving this guy a chance? Because of his age. He's proven on the street the experience that's important as far as I'm concerned through his advocacy and civil action.
It's flat out ageism and discrimination and gaslighting. It's all it is.
That's all it is.
Because and what's likely going to happen is we're probably going to need to coalesce around one candidate to challenge the Tribune's fever dream, or whatever we're going to call this thing.
Yeah,
because they're going to try. They're going to try to get Vallas or Lightfoot and probably settle on Chewy.
Two of the worst they're all three the worst candidates. Their experience alone shows why they are the worst candidates. And they think because they are embedded like ticks into the political system, that is a plus. And it's not.
No. It's
we'd still have Rahm here, and the Tribune would have endorsed him had he not been run out of town on a rail after he covered up the Laquan McDonald execution.
It actually turned out okay, Jerry, because, I'm in Japan now, and you can't touch me, suckers!
Calling Godzilla.
I take responsibility for what happened because it happened on my watch.
Some have mocked Vallas as an illusory, quote unquote, shining white knight. Does the Tribune have any sense of the irony there, that they're actually drafting that the editorial board actually chose that statement? Some have mocked Vallas as an illusory, shining white knight whose candidacy says more about his backers than the candidate himself. Other opponents have argued that while he has reams of bullet-pointed plans under his hat, he won't do as well in the day-to-day business of running a city when it doesn't always help to see yourself as the smartest person in the room. Well, that's Lightfoot's liability. These will be potential traps for him, and he will need to pay attention and surround himself with a confident, diverse, transparent team, one filled with turnaround specialists. Vallas is 70 in June, and while we wish him good health and a long life, his potential tenure as mayor is not going to be some Daley-esque dynasty any more than a pathway to higher office. His job will be to fix the things that need to be fixed, restore confidence, joy, and optimism, redress those persistent inequalities in our midst, keep an eye out for future leaders that they're going to dismiss because they're too young, especially leaders of color, and then make way for the city's next great chapter. But that next leader of color, that's down the way. We need to have the illusory shining white knight right now.
Okay. All right. You know what, Jerry? I mean, they're gonna throw that ageism crap at Jamal. I'm gonna hit him right back. Vallas is gonna be 70. That's too freaking old. Too old.
Get him out of there. Now
he's gonna be in a retirement home before his term is up. Forget it. We're not voting for him.
Yeah, right. Thank you. We believe most Chicagoans can get behind that idea. Now, meanwhile, Madame Mayor was celebrating women's rights with PPI action. And, of course, the clown decided to, perform for the camera as she normally does. Here we go.
Here at the Planned Parenthood annual Fighting Forward event, and I'm looking for Paul Vallas. Oh, right. He's anti-choice.
He's anti-choice, she said?
That's what she says.
Cut out at the end.
Let me play it one more time. Can you open the tweet on that end?
So he's never going to be.
My stupid browser.
Yeah, I can play it.
Yeah, why don't you run it so we can hear it in complete context?
Mayor, what's wrong?
Well, I'm here at the Planned Parenthood annual Fighting Forward event, and I'm looking for Paul Vallas. Oh, right. He's anti-choice, so he's never going to be.
She's the worst. She thinks she's like some actress. She thinks that she thinks she's so funny and hip with these stupid, idiotic videos that she does endlessly. She's a fucking embarrassment, man.
And every time I have to say it would be cute if she wasn't letting the city burn. These are things. It's like she doesn't have any awareness, no idea that the city's falling apart, and she needs to focus on those things and not these cute little gimmicks.
Well, dude, she's delivering pizza. Remember her pizza delivery commercials? She
You
thinks
guys order pepperoni.
Yeah. That on its face, it shows how badly she reads the room. If she's going to try to win over voters with such transparently ridiculous commercials, she should be delivering sausage because, as you know, as we all know, Lori Lightfoot is nationally renowned for her big sausage.
What the fuck were you thinking? You make some kind of secret agreement with the Italians. You're out there measuring your dicks with the Italians, seeing who's got the biggest dicks. You're out there stroking your dicks over the Columbus statue. My dick is bigger than yours and the Italians. I have the biggest dick in Chicago.
What was she thinking? Yeah. She should have been delivering sausage pizza. All right. So, speaking of Vallas, go ahead.
Or at least she could deliver, from like a local Chicago place, like Thin Crust or like Vito and Nick's or Lou Malnati's or something, Although if she delivered deep dish, then she would offend all the Southsiders.
So in reference to her claim that Vallas is anti-choice, Politico also ran an ad on the Tribune endorsement. This is by Shia Kapos and Olivia Olander, and this came out today. The Chicago Tribune has endorsed Paul Vallas for mayor. The paper reported this morning. The endorsement comes on the heels of Jesus the Stash Garcia making news Thursday with a video calling out Vallas for comments he made on abortion. Now, we showed the Lori Lightfoot video, which basically demonstrate what a freaking clown she is. But now apparently Garcia also made a claim that Vallas is anti-abortion. The video shows Vallas in his own words saying, fundamentally, I oppose abortion and I'm more of a Republican than a Democrat. Interesting. Now, Politico goes on to say, I lost my screen there.
Sorry, I meant to take my stream down and I accidentally.
No worries. Lost in translation, Vallas's campaign said the video is from a 2009 interview with Jeff Berkowitz, who features conservative candidates on his public affairs show, and that Garcia edited the interview out of context. But then why did he say I'm more of a Republican than a Democrat? Why would he say that if he's really a Democrat? Why would you say that? Actually, Obama said the same thing. Obama said something similar, that one of his favorite presidents is Ronald Reagan. Yeah, and that he would run if he ran again, he'd run as a Reagan Democrat.
That's campaign rhetoric to get conservative votes. That's all that is.
Well, yeah, but
that, and he really is a Republican.
Yeah. Let's add that too. Actually, the people he's hoodwinking are the Democrats. So Vallas's response to the statement that Garcia edited his interview out of context. I am a lifelong Democrat who's always been 100% pro-choice. I'm proud to have been endorsed by pro-choice organizations like Planned Parenthood in previous campaigns for state office, and I've publicly pledged to ensure that Chicago remains a reproductive safe haven for all women. The issue gained steam. Mayor Lori Lightfoot tweeted a video last night pretending to look for Vallas at a Planned Parenthood event. She should have been like looking for her next job is what she should have been looking for in that video after she loses February 28th.
Hey, Jerry, have you seen my keys or my political ineptness around here anywhere?
Yeah, I think Lori Lightfoot picked him up.
Oh, okay.
Pretending to look for Vallas at a Planned Parenthood event she was attending. I'm looking for Paul Vallas. Oh, right, he's anti-choice, so he's never going to be here, she says. These aren't the first attacks on Vallas' stand on abortion. At a recent forum, Lightfoot criticized him for not speaking out sooner on the repeal of Roe v. Wade. Paul Vallas has been silent on this for 7 months until today at this forum, Lightfoot said. Shame on you, Paul, for not talking about women's rights until today. We asked Vallas what was out of context in his words. Fundamentally, I oppose abortion, a spokeswoman said. He was referring to his Greek Orthodox faith, which opposes abortion. Yes, I was born and raised Greek Orthodox, and I'm now agnostic, so I just don't think this religious stuff has any place in politics, period. We're not a theocracy. We're supposed to be a secular society, and there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. And that goes to how our elected representatives are supposed to represent everybody, not based on their theologies, whether you like it or not. You decide your faith says you're anti-abortion, fine. That's between you and your family and the people in your faith. You're not allowed to ram that down the rest of society's throat. Isn't it interesting, too, how anti-big government Republicans and conservatives are, except when it comes to abortion? That's something that you feel that their rights they should ram down your throat. The government needs to guide you on that, but not everything else.
It's hypocrisy for that and a number of other issues. I mean, the gun issues that always come up are always it's always it's like a constitutional issue, or it's a states' rights issue, or if it's a thing that they don't want to happen and federal law will prevent it from happening, then they're fine with it.
Exactly. Yep. Sorry, I lost my track in this article here. Okay. Garcia called Vallas a liar and a wolf in sheep's clothing, reports NBC5's Marianne Ahern. The attacks on Vallas indicate he's gaining steam in the mayor's race ahead of the February 28th election. Fox 32's Mike Flannery has a new poll showing Lightfoot and Vallas in a dead heat with Garcia trailing.
Yeah, don't believe polls.
Don't believe Fox. Party affiliations. The mayor's position is nonpartisan, though all the candidates describe themselves as Democrats, including Vallas, who ran as a Democrat for governor in 2002 and as lieutenant governor in 2013. Even Willie Wilson calls himself a Democrat, and he voted for Donald Trump in 2016. So do not pay attention to how these people label themselves. Pay attention to what they do and what they say.
Yeah, Trump was a Democrat. People forget that.
But the Democrats wouldn't let him run in their party. That's why he jumped ship to the Republican Party. And that's why I say it's like, well, yeah, we know why. Yeah, we know why Vallas isn't running as a Republican, because it's a Democratic state here, even though the Democrats aren't really Democrats. They're just as embedded with big business and corruption as Republicans are on a national level, and Democrats too. Look, let's make no mistake. Both they're the same party. They're pretty much the same party, and they're just grabbing a label depending on what the optics are in the race that they're running and who they think they're going to get more votes from.
Yeah, Illinois and Chicago, it's all a big machine, and we just currently have a blue steering wheel. That's
Andrew, I could not agree with you more. How come a Bible is used in court? It shouldn't be. How come God is on our currency? God was put on our currency in the 1950s, I believe.
Yeah.
God was not on our currency up until I think the late 1950s.
Yeah, and they added under God to the Pledge of Allegiance around that time too. And the Pledge of Allegiance itself was written by a dude who was selling flags.
Yeah, it's a loyalty oath.
So
the Nazis took loyalty oaths also to their flag. Do we really need a Pledge of Allegiance here in the United States? Don't we all understand what being Americans is about? We have to pledge allegiance to a piece of cloth as opposed to pledging allegiance or just actually aligning with the values that our country should be about, protecting each other, not dividing not living by two parties dividing us all the time. It's just, look, man, patriotism is a word that's thrown around specifically and only for political gain.
Yeah.
Because most of these politicians, most of these candidates who claim they're patriots are anything but when you dig into their records and how they divide people and how they don't really stand up for underrepresented Americans. Dems and their backroom deals. A meeting Sunday to vote on who will replace Mike Kabanargi on the Democratic State Central Committee is not. Oh, this is other. Okay, so this was more from
Another story. Oh,
yeah, it was another story, but not related to Vallas and the Tribune endorsement.
Okay.
So, quick extra news: Alderman Tom Tooney backs Vallas for mayor, even though he's not running. I don't know why anybody gives a shit who Tom Tooney backs or why he thinks Vallas should be mayor. Now, this came from Gregory Pratt, longtime Wrigleyville Alderman Tom Tooney threw his support behind Paul Vallas for mayor on Wednesday, giving the former CPS CEO a boost on his second bid for the City Hall's top job. After careful consideration, today I am proud to share that I'm endorsing and voting for Paul Vallas for mayor of Chicago, and I urge all Chicagoans who care about public safety, public education, and public finances to join me. The 44th Ward Alderman said in a statement, as a person who is socially progressive and fiscally responsible, the platform that Paul Vallas has for Chicago most closely aligns with what I believe, both as a member of the City Council for 2 decades and as a small business owner for 40 years. Paul is the candidate who understands he can't do all that needs to be done alone. I'm confident that he will surround himself with the best people to advise and guide him through the next 4 years, and I'm proud to support him. Last year, Tooney considered launching his own campaign for mayor, but decided against it days before he was scheduled to announce his candidacy. Tooney's name carries some weight with North Side residents, but the endorsement highlights a shift in Vallas's political fortune since his failed 2019 campaign for mayor, where he finished a distant 9th and failed to raise substantial money or generate meaningful support. Look, man, the Tribune endorsing him and everybody coming out here at the last minute 3 weeks before the election to endorse him, This is
it's panic.
It is panic. Yes. They weren't supporting him before. All of the candidates of color who've proposed very good ideas have been getting a lot of attention. Suddenly, oh no, Vallas. Wait, Bernie Epton's dead? Vallas. Got to run Vallas. Got to support Vallas. While forgetting the scandal under his CEO tenure. They keep forgetting that, man.
Well, Jerry, I mean, I showed up to as many of those forums and debates as I possibly can, but these other guys are way better than me. So it's pretty obvious that all these guys are coming out with these endorsements right now because they're scared as hell that Brandon Johnson or somebody like Jamal or that Jamal kid who's way too young, even though I'm almost 70 and 3 steps from the grave, they're way better than me as candidates.
This time around, Vallas has raised millions of dollars and is considered a front-runner candidate. Last week, he also received an endorsement from Northwest Side Alderman Anthony Napolitano. Vallas is the only white contender in a 9-candidate field. In recent years, Vallas has made crime a top subject of his public profile. Vallas frequently delivers a fire hose of social media posts about violence in Chicago, arguing it's important to support the police and loosen restrictions on their work. His campaign advertisements focus heavily on crime and a promise to keep people safe. Dog whistles, dog whistles, dog whistles. Here we go. Okay, so let's whether you read the Tribune or not, guys, let's forget about the Tribune's endorsement, okay? This is all you need to know about leadership under Vallas as mayor of the city of Chicago. You know who John Catanzara is, right? The fascist who heads up the Chicago's Fraternal Order of Police. Last month, Chicago's Fraternal Order of Police endorsed Vallas for mayor. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? In light of the statement that Pratt made just a moment ago, that it's important to support the police and loosen restrictions on their work. What that means, getting rid of the consent decree. It means funneling more money to the police departments and less money into the neighborhoods to get to the root causes of crime. Period. And the fact that the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police is endorsing him should frighten you to your core. Because sadly, the majority of police in the city of Chicago vote to put John Catanzara in place, which is a reflection on how they see Chicagoans. They are an authority that is not meant to bridge the gap with neighbors and neighborhoods. They are simply there to be obeyed, to act as judge, jury, and executioner in so many cases that we've seen. And for the millionth time, I'm not anti-law enforcement. I want our police department to live up to the ideals that we would hope law and order is supposed to represent. But with no accountability and loosening restrictions on their work, it's going to be more of the same without any important investment in neighborhoods, reopening mental health clinics, and the litany of proposals and ideas, good ideas that have come from the other candidates that are being ignored by the Chicago Tribune in deference to crime, safety, people safe. They say these things to give you a sense of, oh yeah, this is going to be the guy who's going to give you that sense of security. They're going to throw more money in the police department. Crime's not going to go down because there are more desperate people on the streets that are not being helped or neighborhoods being supported or invested in by whoever the mayor is. All right, so there's my editorial. Although Chicago police and their supporters mark an important demographic in local elections, the Fraternal Order of Police has long been criticized for defending police misconduct. Let's not be kind. Let's call it abuse. And local President John Catanzara in particular has been a lightning rod for controversy. Tooney is part of Lightfoot's city council leadership team, but is not seeking re-election after 2 decades as alderman. Asked about the endorsement, Lightfoot said Vallas and Tooney's views are aligned, but criticized Vallas' stance on public safety issues as well as his relationship with the Chicago Fraternal Order of Police. He's playing into people's fears about public safety, not being honest about what his record is, Lightfoot said. That's the pot calling the kettle black. Look, Lightfoot is trying as much as she can to play both sides with law enforcement as well. And she's been harping on the public safety, throwing more money at the cops too. So, Ed, you have anything? I'm worn out.
Oh. What I mean, yeah, and that, and it's like we got Peter Francis Geraci also endorsing Vallas, which of course, I mean, that is literally a bankrupt endorsement, Jerry.
Who's Ed Verdoliak endorsing? Have we heard who Eddie Verdoliak, or is he back in jail?
Don't know. But that would be a good question.
I'd be curious to see if Verdoliak is endorsing Vallas. Fast Eddie.
Let's see if I can spell Verdoliak correctly to find out. VRD. No, wait. VRYD? No, VRDOLYAK? Doesn't
Google autocorrect for you? So let's go to the some good comments in the live chat while you look that up.
Oh, he was out of prison back in last April also.
Yeah, but I heard that they were looking at maybe putting him back because of some other charges against him. But maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, let me see if I got a new. Okay, yeah, there's nothing new on Verdoliak.
Andrew Golick shares exactly. They don't try to address the desperation; they choose to punish those who act upon it. And yes, Varund DB. This is the signal for all the lakefront liberals to move from Lori to Vallas, and yes, I mean white people. So, yeah, the Darren Bailey method.
Yeah, I think Jake and Elwood had it right, though.
They did. Do you have them ready?
Illinois Nazis. I hate Illinois Nazis.
Hate Illinois Nazis. All right, so here's a story update. We were actually reported this on last week, and I was surprised to see these developments after the alderwoman there was so vehemently against Norfolk Southern continuing their expansion, given the fact that they were not hiring enough people from that community. All right, let's get into it. This comes from Fran Spielman at the Chicago Tribune. Last month, Alderman Jeanette Taylor delayed the project, which has drawn scrutiny over residential displacement, truck traffic, and most importantly, this was the big part of the story that concerned me, pollution. Wednesday, she admonished Norfolk Southern, but voted for the expansion. Why? The city council agreed Wednesday to vacate streets and alleys to pave the way for a $150 million expansion of Norfolk Southern Railway's intermodal yard in Englewood after the local alderperson lifted the legislative brick. Last month, Alderman Jeanette Taylor of the 20th extended what has been a 15-year odyssey for the rail giant by using a parliamentary maneuver to delay the project. It has been mired in controversy over the residential displacement it required and the truck traffic and pollution it caused for those residents who remain. On Wednesday, Taylor did an about-face. She voted in favor of the agreement, paving the way for her colleagues to do the same, though you'd never know it from how she admonished the railroad.
Yeah.
Norfolk Southern... I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ed. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say I actually heard her do this live when they were broadcasting the city council meeting. So it is possible to go and find the video and hear her basically reaming out the rest of city council, but then eventually voting for it.
Yeah, what? And here's an interesting quote from her. Norfolk Southern, who got rich off the backs of slaves, resisted, quote, giving this community the little things that they're asking for, Taylor said, referring to her demand for an ironclad agreement of jobs and contracts for Englewood residents. A redevelopment agreement hammered out in 2014 does the bare minimum in the black and brown community, she said, and she did not sign off on it. Quote, I'm almost ashamed and embarrassed that somebody would sign off on some crap and did not do any follow-through. They did not make sure people got jobs in the community. They did not make sure they were going to do hiring fair. They did not make sure that the black folks from the community get the contracts. What does that say about us? I'm tired of sitting in a space where I'm ignored and not listened to just because of the color of my skin, Taylor said. After venting her anger, Taylor lifted the legislative version of the railroad gate. Norfolk Southern and the city have agreed to the terms that the community are asking, and that's all I was asking for, Taylor said. I want to thank the Black Caucus and members of the Latino Caucus for standing with me because sometimes it's easier to take the check and look away. So apparently they decided to agree to the demands of Taylor and the neighborhood. Norfolk Southern called Wednesday's vote an important moment for an expansion critical to Chicago's role as the heart of our nation's supply chain. Construction can now move forward and will bring additional opportunities for local diverse contractors and their workers. Once completed, the facility's expanded capacity will bring good-paying jobs created by Norfolk Southern, as well as those with contractors and other Chicago businesses that support the yard's ongoing operations, the statement said. So now, this article does not cite all of those terms, though. And I'm wondering if all of the terms that she demanded were met, if there's wiggle room in what Norfolk Southern agreed to.
I think it came down to basically her constituents being okay with it, so she wasn't going to block it any longer.
But that doesn't say, okay, yeah, but that doesn't mean that they're agreeing to like bringing the job. It doesn't seem that there's anything ironclad here to make sure that they follow through on it, aside from the fact she's saying her residents are fine with it. Okay, great. If they're fine with it, but under what terms? This just
that's still an issue? I mean,
did she just draw the line in the sand and decide to like wipe it away because maybe for a moment it elevated her, but the residents are like, don't worry about it? And I mean, the biggest problem here to me, Ed, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It was confusing to me when it happened. Because I was like, you're going to make that giant grandstanding statement, and then after all of that, you're just going to let it go through?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
The most concerning issue related to this 180 excuse me, is the pollution issue in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
We've been talking about environmental racism across all neighborhoods on the south and west sides. This has been a real important issue also to our colleague Kit when he comes on and talks about environmental racism and pollution, whether it's the recycling plants that have been relocated from the north side to the south sides or the continuing pollution of Chicago's South Shore. But yeah, I just saw this come across stories reported today, and I wanted to give the update. I do want to dig in and see if there's any more information on this aside from Taylor just saying, fine, go ahead with it. Because they were important issues that she raised to just so easily cast aside because suddenly the residents are okay with it, but you're still not advocating for their safety in relation to the pollution issues and the job issues. So I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like she gave herself any room to really enforce what's ultimately going to be best for the community there. But we will do some more follow-up on that as I'm opening up the next story here. Now, here's another story that we had reported on previously months ago. Wait, was this months ago or was this the... No, I'm thinking of another murder story. Sorry. This comes from Fox 32 News as soon as the window opens up. Hang on, guys. So a Chicago woman was charged after body of her 96-year-old mother was found in a freezer. Eva Brockcher, 69, allegedly told Chicago neighbors conflicting stories about her mother's health and whereabouts. Oh, I was confusing this with the story about the older woman who was the tenant who got chopped up by... No, the older one was the landlady who got chopped up by her tenant. I can't keep track of these horrible stories, man.
Yeah, we're hearing more and more of these amazingly tragic stories.
Well, I'm waiting for the tab to open, so give me a second here.
Yeah.
Any interesting comments in the live chat?
Well, let's see. Yeah, well, we got Andrew Garlick saying, don't try to address desperation. They choose to punish those who act upon it.
Yeah.
Let me see. No chats in the Rockfin.
All right, well, here's the story. A Chicago woman has been charged with concealing the body of her 96-year-old mother after the elderly woman was found Monday in a freezer behind the... Are you hearing that?
I am now.
All right, so why is my browser...
What's going on? What happened, Jerry? Did we lose you?
Hold on. I've been hijacked. You know, browsers are... Isn't it interesting that when we ran the mayoral forum, there was an issue with browsers can't auto-start sound, except when it's a fucking obnoxious commercial that pops up. And why is it they're running the commercial? They're running sound from this commercial, but whenever I run video, it never runs sound from my browser. Anyway, all right, let's get back to the article. Sorry for that barrage and that assault on our senses from these goddamn commercials. Anyway, all right, here's the victim. No, that's the woman who killed her mother.
Yeah, that's the daughter.
It's the daughter. All right, Eva Brocher, 69, was arrested after police found the body of her mother, Regina Mikulski, in a garage around 4:35 p.m. near the 5500th block of West Melrose Street during a welfare check, Fox 32 reported. No. Are you hearing that?
No.
Okay.
It sounds like you got gremlins going on over there.
What the fuck? Every time I scroll the page down, something opens up and starts screaming at me.
Oh.
Commercial. Are you hearing that?
No. We're not hearing it.
You're not hearing it. It's something on my end here. Hold on. That's where it's coming from. I'm sorry, everybody. Hang on a second here.
Oh, it's that embedded video. It must have been playing.
So I'm turning it down, but it's.
Are you hearing it? I'm not hearing it, Jerry.
I'm hearing it.
We're hearing.
I'm hearing it like really loud over here. You can't even hear it coming through my microphone.
No, I mean you could.
All right,
probably
I'll read the
mute
story
the
then.
tab.
I'll read the story then. I'm sorry, I'm like distracted by the fact I'm hearing this news music coming through. I'll just read it. Okay. Mikowski was found inside the freezer in a garage behind the property surrounded by trash. It was unclear how long she'd been dead when police found her body. Bratcher had told conflicting stories about her mother in recent months, according to neighbors who spoke with the Chicago Sun-Times. She allegedly made various statements about her mother being in a nursing home in another state, still living healthy at home, or that she had died. No cause of death was immediately known as an autopsy was pending. Cook County court records show that Bratcher was arrested nearly a dozen times between 1997 and 2005 and pled guilty in 2006 to felony counts of forgery in 2 cases, according to the paper. She was also convicted of misdemeanor battery, for which she was sentenced to probation, and has faced a slew of other charges that were eventually dropped, including battery, assault, and retail theft. Bratcher's daughter, Sabrina Watson, who lives in Kentucky, told the paper that she called police to check on her grandmother. I just said, I'm calling the police and just having them do a welfare check, Watson said. What could go wrong? Apparently, everything. My heart is broken, she added. I miss her very much. One of Mikowski's grandchildren, Diana Mikowski, told the outlet that she hadn't seen her grandmother in 20 years. Mikowski said her grandmother was a Polish immigrant who spent most of her life working for Motorola. So I guess the story is developing.
Yeah.
Was arrested, but we don't know what the cause of her mother's death was.
Yeah, I think they're still waiting for the autopsy results there. And it sounds like this is one of those situations where maybe if she had died of natural causes, maybe the daughter thought that she could just keep collecting Social Security checks.
Interesting. Because they don't know how long. So with one granddaughter saying she hadn't seen the mother in 20 years, my God, how long could she have kept her in that freezer for?
Well, I mean, but then the granddaughter, how long has it been since she saw the grandmother? So, there's definitely more to this story.
There's more to this story, and I'm sure it's going to unfold because it's clearly.
Hinky. What does that mean? It's hinky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? Hinky, that has no meaning.
Well, we say hinky.
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Tommy Lee.
Yeah. Speaking of strange or hinky, did you know Uncle Warren's got a new show that he's got coming up pretty soon?
Tonight or an entirely new format? I didn't know. I haven't been watching.
I think he created a whole new channel, but it's going to be on his Extra Bullet channel too. I think what's it called, Mundus Ultra, where it's going to be like all those like mysterious story things. Like
he did. We were chatting on Twitter not too long ago, and Warren, if you're still watching, I've been sick for almost a week and a half now, and I haven't been that responsive to Twitter. So my apologies that I have not participated in the private chats. But I do recall Warren talking about like a paranormal commentary show, and here he is, Mundus Ultra. What does Mundus mean, though? Or what does that relate to? What does that mean? Is Mundus Spanish for world?
I think so.
Okay. You can tell I'm not bilingual. Cool. No, I didn't know that it started yet, so I'll definitely check that out, Warren. And I do.
Think he's doing a preview tonight.
Okay.
At like 10 Central Time or something, or 11
Actually,
Eastern. He's on Eastern over there.
We stand corrected. It's Latin for the world beyond.
Ooh, that's cool.
I'll tune in tonight. I'll take a break from Call of Duty, which has been which has been, my nephew Christian, who is 13 now, he came over with my other nephews one night. He's like, I want to download Call of Duty because, when they come visit their uncles, they got to spend time playing video games. So I'm like, all right, we'll download it. And he was playing it, and I started playing it after he left. And dude, it is a great video game. It is addictive. So I've been spending most of my evenings coughing and hacking playing that. But I will get back on YouTube tonight and check out The World Beyond, Mundus Ultra, produced and now hosted by our friend Warren Dearman in New York. We will check it out. Our pleasure. And I'll get back to you on Twitter also. Just haven't been that responsive to a lot of people since I've been recovering from my sore throat. All right, so moving into our next story, I think a lot of people know that I tend to lean towards being a preservationist with the city's architecture and historic buildings. And this came across my radar, which I was very alarmed. And I thought, even Pegleg might have something to say about this, because in Lincoln Park, tensions are flaring over plans to tear down a nearly 150-year-old home that's been around since that fire Pegleg started back in 1871.
Oh, you know that he was exonerated, Jerry.
Was he?
He was.
All right, so here's a picture of Judy Colahan Blatherwook, Wright, and her sister Kathy Colahan Novi stand in the 1870s home they live on North Burling Street in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood on January 17th of 2023. It's a nicely kept 1870s home. Look at the beautiful fireplace, the ornate moldings, the beautiful vintage furniture in there. So there are the ladies in their home, and as reported by Brian J. Rogel at the Chicago Tribune, Judy Blatherwick and her family put in decades of work restoring their graceful Italianate wood frame home in Lincoln Park, but after selling the nearby 150-year-old building to a local real estate titan, it now faces demolition. Wow. There's been a lot of love put into this house, and it's a living, breathing piece of Chicago history, the 79-year-old said. Tearing it down will leave a gaping hole in the streetscape. The home at 2240 North Burling Street, part of the National Sheffield Historic District, is one of the few remaining wood frame homes built in the aftermath of the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. The building's new owner is Thaddeus Wong, Blatherwick's neighbor for many years and the co-CEO of At Properties Christie's International Real Estate, because we just can't have enough more historical Chicago buildings going down for them. One of the nation's largest residential real estate firms, he filed for a demolition permit in November, but city officials nearly 3 decades ago gave 2240 North Burling an orange rating reserved for properties that may be historically significant, and that put a 90-day hold on the permit. In the meantime, preservation advocates launched a petition drive to save the home, garnering more than 2,000 signatures, and plan to ask the Commission on Chicago Landmarks at its February 9th meeting to either delay the demolition or make 2240 a local landmark, hopefully saving it for future generations. Now, lest you think it's just the inside of the house that's so well preserved, that's a nice home. That's a nice reflection on a historic building built post-Chicago fire in beautiful shape. And this guy from Christie's wants to tear it down. Oh, my goodness. I think Ed's been possessed.
Oh, hey, Jerry. I remember that home when it just got built. I remember I delivered a couple barrels of beer to that house during the housewarming of that place. And, man, it hasn't changed that much.
Housewarming, no pun intended, I hope.
Not house firing, house warming. But this story, it had the word flare right in there in the headline. I don't know if you noticed that. I think they were trying to hope that to tie this to the fire, but they built this after the fire, which I did not cause. And I do remember this house, and I don't know if these ladies were living there, but maybe it was their mothers. But yeah, they knew how to throw a party at this place.
This is a beautiful house, Pegleg. I mean, let's get serious here. And this is within what is identified as the Sheffield Historic District. Now, if you're going to buy a historic home that is as well preserved as this on the outside and the inside, and you know its historical significance, why would you file a demolition? Why would you buy the house? Aren't there other properties that you can look for that are maybe more distressed and don't have the same historic significance as this building? What is this guy thinking?
Well, and also it makes you wonder why they didn't try to have this declared a historical landmark before they tried selling the place.
Well, I don't know that the women realized that this guy was going to get his hands on it and decide to immediately tear it down. Although they should have, there should have been some due diligence done there. Unfortunately, there wasn't. It's a unique building, finely crafted and detailed, said Ward Miller, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. It represents what the city looked like just before and after the Chicago fire. And it does. It's probably painted and preserved better than buildings that were actually built then. I don't normally know that you'd see wooden houses back in the 1870s painted and trimmed as nicely as this one is.
Yeah, also, I don't know how many houses were built with a whole lot of wood after that fire.
That's true, too. The possible teardown fits a pattern seen across Lincoln Park, according to preservationists. Longtime residents sell out, and new owners, frequently very wealthy, demolish and replace old properties with imposing mega mansions or use the spaces as side yards. Hundreds of homes were lost this way in recent decades, including ones with orange ratings. And unless more protection is offered, perhaps by making the entire district a local landmark, advocates say the neighborhood will lose the elegance that attracts so many eager buyers, as well as its few remaining affordable units. Quote, there just aren't that many wood-based houses like 2240, mostly because, for obvious reasons, wood construction became less common after the Chicago fire. But this is not just about the architectural significance of an individual house, said Landmarks Illinois Advocacy Manager Kendra Parzan. We'd really like to see a more complete solution for the district because right now, the same house-by-house fight keeps happening over and over again. Wong and his wife, Emily Sachs Wong, also a well-known real estate agent, purchased in 2003 the building next door to Blatherwick for $500,000. Cook County property records show they renovated it into a single-family home, and according to Redfin, it's now worth more than $4 million. They renovated it, though. They didn't tear it down, they renovated it.
So it was in good shape then.
Just like this one that we're looking at right now that looks like it's in pretty good shape inside to begin with.
I don't understand. Why does he want to tear this thing down?
Well, that's good question. They did contact him to find out. Wong did not return calls seeking comment, but in December, he stated in an email to Fox 32 Chicago that he was, quote, sensitive to the desire to save old buildings. I live in a 100-year-old home, and I've restored historic properties, including the landmark Uptown Broadway building. Okay, there was a nice restoration done on that. However, this particular structure is not a viable candidate for preservation, and I believe the city's demolition delay process, which I fully support, will confirm this. Why? Look at this thing. Look at this.
Why?
Why? Because it's a wood house, and it's not as ornate as other houses around it. It has historical significance. It's in good shape. It already looks like it's been restored and preserved.
Yeah, I'm wondering how they're making that determination. Why is it not a viable candidate? Is there wood rot on the inside that's beyond repair?
Good question, Ed. No.
No.
Or I'm sorry, Pegleg. No.
And then it's not. And then, is this one of those situations where it's a house that there are plenty of other ones and it's not unique? But I don't think that's the case. No. This one's pretty rare now.
Yeah, and look at the good shape that these women have kept it in. The Sheffield Historic District, first created in the 1970s and later expanded, now covers most of Lincoln Park between Lincoln Avenue in the east and Clybourne Avenue on the west, but the designation doesn't provide protection to individual buildings. Parzan said between 93 and 2019, more than 350 buildings, roughly 1/3 of its stock, were either demolished or significantly altered, often transformed from 3 flats or other multifamily properties into single-family homes or new condominiums. And I just keep wondering, Ed, who the fuck can afford to live in these huge multi-million-dollar single-family homes? When we talk about like the wealth inequality and the disparity across the city, who's buying these things? Who can afford these? What do they do? What kind of work is in Chicago that people are affording these mega mansion monstrosities at the expense of the character of the neighborhood? When Blatherwick moved into 2240 North Berlin with her late husband in the 1980s after inheriting it from her mother-in-law, who bought the house for about $18,000 in the 1950s, the neighborhood was still mostly 19th century structures, including a set of orange-rated row homes across the street, but hulking new gray mansions now line many blocks. Lincoln Park has a charm to it, and on many streets, it's like stepping back in time, she said. But some new buildings in the area look like tombstones, and one replaced a worker's cottage, so if they keep tearing down houses, it will change the look forever. Chicago planning officials color-coded thousands of historic properties in the 1990s, and following an outcry over the 2003 demolition of the old Chicago Mercantile Exchange at 130 North Franklin Street, now an empty lot, the Chicago City Council instituted a 90-day delay for properties given the top ratings of either red or orange. During that 3-month period, neighbors and advocates can push the commission on Chicago landmarks to designate the property a local landmark and cancel the proposed demolition. But the property needs to meet at least 2 of 7 criteria, such as being the site of a significant historic event, somehow identified with a historic figure, or forming a critical part of the city's heritage.
Well, I'm fairly certain that Pegleg participated in a rager at that building. I don't know if he mentioned it while I was temporarily possessed.
He did. But you could legitimately argue this is a representation of architecture after a historic local disaster that reflects the rebound of the city.
Yeah, it's definitely it's like a time capsule of it for an era that is just after the fire.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a tall order for orange-rated properties, according to Parson, although Landmarks Illinois does not keep records on how many of these structures, and an ad popped up throwing the paragraph down, does not keep records on how many of these structures in Lincoln Park have been torn down. Being an orange-rated building doesn't offer any protection other than the delay, she said. Ultimately, it doesn't prevent demolition from taking place. And again, look at this. I mean, the furniture, it's like they sourced furniture from that era. This is just heartbreaking. The commission does not announce landmark recommendations in advance of meetings, though meeting agendas are published on the Fridays before a given meeting and include potential recommendations that may be voted on by the commission, said Department of Planning and Developmental Deputy Commissioner Peter Strasabasco. Peter Strasabasco. I think he's Irish. One orange-rated home lost was 2248 North Burling Street, 2 doors down from Blatherwick. Emily Sachs bought it for $700,000 in 2000, renovated into a 5,600 square foot mansion, and sold it for $2.9 million in 2006. County records show. In addition, limited liability corporations managed by Thaddeus Wong bought the 2 properties south of Blatherwick's home, including an unrated 3-story structure already demolished. In the past, people moved in because they loved the built environment, Miller said. Well, now we're seeing a new type of buyer who wants a bigger yard. Lincoln Central Association, the local community organization, is also fighting to save 2240 North Burling. According to the organization's December newsletter, its loss would continue a decades-long process that led teachers, firemen, and other service workers to leave the neighborhood. They could no longer live where they worked. Oh, here's an interesting twist related to other questions we've brought up before about police living in neighborhoods, and we may have just found a solution here, Ed, or an explanation. They could no longer live where they worked because affordable housing is eliminated every time a 19th century 2 or 3 flat is torn down, replaced by a single-family home or a side yard for play, the newsletter said. Now, Blatherwick still speaks highly of the Wong family and said they were quite generous. County records show Blatherwick and her sister, who moved in with her to help pay the home's rising property taxes. I wonder if they got forced out because of the property taxes. They didn't have a choice. Were paid $2 million for the 3-story 3,940 square foot building, nearly twice the Redfin estimate. Both of us are retired from Chicago public schools and on fixed income, so we had to sell because we couldn't handle it anymore, Blatherwick said. The two still live in the home, temporarily renting it from Wong, and will soon move to a vintage North Side condo.
That's a shame.
That's a tragedy, is what it is. They gave us a nice price, much more than we would have got putting it on the market, said Blatherwick, who will also avoid paying for repairs on 2240's massive porches. We felt that would have cost more money than we could have possibly put together. Look at those beautiful pictures from their album, or framed photos in their home. Look at the Christmas lighting. This is just so sad. I mean, I know, progress, move forward, stop living in the past.
Well,
architecture is an inherent gift that provides the character to so many of our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The historical character, what's come before, what's brought us to now, and the fact that so many people are just willfully ignorant or don't care or don't feel that that is important in regards to maintaining the heritage of a neighborhood or a community is really sad to me.
Yeah, and it's also sad that they're financially unable to stay in the house for one.
Yep.
And to and then having to spend the money to keep that thing in good condition. It sounded like there were some repairs or restorations that still needed to be done. Too bad there isn't an organization or something that could have helped them with that.
Yeah, Blatherwick went on to say she can't hide her sorrow over the possibility her home will be demolished to make a side yard or a new mansion, and the loss of so much work and history, as you can see in these photos. She and her husband, who passed away in 2010, spent years replenishing the interior, finding new moldings, replacing window casings discarded by previous owners, and painting it in vibrant colors. We made this house look like it was supposed to look, she said. Mid-North Association President Melissa Masek said securing local landmark status for the neighborhood would provide more protection for vulnerable properties. She lives several blocks east in the Mid-North District, a local landmark area, and its 19th century brick row houses, Queen Anne-style homes, and several pre-Chicago fireworkers' cottages are largely protected. I want my daughter to be able to see all this architecture when she grows up, she said. People need to raise their voices, otherwise it will be gone. You know where you can see this kind of architecture, though, where this kind of stuff doesn't happen? Down in Pullman neighborhoods, because it's a distressed neighborhood. No one's going to go down there and redevelop them. But you see a lot of these older houses that people can afford to live in down in the. I was down there like in December, driving through, and I was like, wow, I'm suddenly like back in history here. Lincoln Park, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about the city's history or architectural heritage.
No,
another solution here, Ed, I have seen buildings with this kind of historical value to them lifted up and moved to other locations, but that's an expensive proposition also, unless somebody offers the Wong family the opportunity to just move the house if they want the property instead of demolishing it.
Yeah, it's a shame that one of us can't win the lottery so we can save some of these buildings.
AMC.
So
fuck the lottery. I'm waiting on the squeeze.
Yeah, and we might have some breaking news in the live chat, Jerry.
I saw regarding the hot wings. You want to go into that while I bring up the last story?
Our good friend Scroogle says, not for nothing, but if anybody wants hot wings, I got a guy. Please contact Jerry at chicagocorner.tv.
Me?
When they need tips on that. Okay, you can send it to pegleg at yepchicago.com. That's PEGLEG at YEPchicago.com for any tips on where those wings went. We still want to know. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, check out Tuesday's episode of Chicago Corner.
Yes. Crazy. And did you follow up to see if there were any developments on this?
Every day, Jerry.
This is going to become Ed's white whale.
Yeah, this is my white whale. I need to know where those wings went. I'm like, okay, here's another story that got updated today from another publisher. No, they're just rehashing the same court documents again. Damn it. Where are those wings?
Yeah.
We don't know.
So Screw Google also says, off topic, kind of, but look up the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist. It was like $18 million in maple syrup stolen. So, like, how? It's crazy, but true.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, how do you steal that much maple syrup? I mean, you got to, I mean, that's like a tanker, several tankers worth, right?
Pretty much. Wow.
Man.
All right. Thank you, Screw Google, in the live chat. And we also had another comment from here we go. Linus 10. While the people who are native here are forced out because they cannot afford to live. Oh, here it is. Why is Mayor Lori Lightfoot invited undocumented people to apply for money and grants?
Has she?
While the people who are native here are forced out because they cannot afford to live. I don't know if she has. I know that they did. There's a new round of like artist grants, and we do know that suddenly they pulled $25 million. I think it was $25 million out of their ass to refurbish that empty school for migrants that Abbott is busing to Chicago, without explaining why don't you guys have money to pull out of your asses to like house people living under bridges and in tents. But Lioness Den, we'll have to check up on that. If she is, I don't disbelieve.
I don't think that's true. That sounds like fake news to me.
We'll have to check it out. But I mean, she's making a point here. Okay, so look, I'm all for the migrants. Like, I think that we should be a sanctuary city, and I'm all for the migrants being housed and protected, but not while ignoring the other vulnerable population here in Chicago, which is our ongoing homeless population. That's my problem with it.
It's not either or. It's a yes and situation.
Yes. Good way to put it, Ed. All right. So one last comment. If you see a bunch of maple trees running around in overcoats and sunglasses, you found your culprits.
He's right.
All right. So going to our last story, I knew that Ed was going to be happy.
Yes. Well, I'm happy to see the story update, but I'm still disappointed that the correct name still did not win. So once again, I am making the unofficial request for some shenanigans from our viewers. Spread the word. One of those plows will be named Lord Slushington J. Shovelsworth III somehow.
With the help of a spray paint can bought from a store outside the city limits.
At least, I mean, this is a prediction. I'm not telling anyone to do this, but seriously, somebody do this.
But if it does happen, you heard it here first.
And and if you happen to catch a sight of that truck, if somebody manages to pull off this miraculous feat, please take photos and send it to us.
Lioness Den, I'm a Cook County election coordinator and a digital campaign strategist of the most elite heads of state here. J.B. Pritzker and those of such. Are you being serious or are you playing with us? Why would she lie about that? Why would anybody lie? Why would anybody want to like cop to that? All right. I take your word for it. All right, so let's get back to the article, and we'll wait for more developments in the chat from Lioness Den. All right, so this comes from Mac Liederman over at Block Club Chicago. After plowing through a months-long competition and a blizzard of punny suggestions, the city has finally selected new names for 7 of its snowplows. Mayor Lori Lightfoot and the Department of Streets and Sanitation announced the You Name a Snowplow contest in December, encouraging residents to use their ingenuity and imagination. Actually, Mayor Lori Lightfoot and the Department of Streets and Sanitation announced the You Name a Snowplow contest in December to distract people from the fire that is engulfing the city to name 6 city snowplows, which will be assigned to each of the city's 6 snow districts. More than 7,000 possible snowplow names were then melted down to 50 finalists with Chicago. Oh, melted down. I see what you did there, Mac. With Chicagoans welcomed Welcome to Vote on Winners. Through January 31st, more than 80,000 votes have been counted, according to a Friday City News release. A near tie for sixth place means the city will dedicate a seventh plow to the people, according to the city. The winners: Mrs. O'Leary's Plow. Number 2, Da Plow. Number 3, Salter Peyton. Number 4, the Sears Plower. Number 5, my favorite, Sleet Home Chicago. Number 6, Holy Plow. Oh, God. And coming in at number 7, Jean-Baptiste Point de Shovel. Couldn't they just leave his name on Lakeshore Drive? You know, every time I drive down Lakeshore Drive and I see the new signs, the new Lakeshore Drive signs, it's like, how much money did it cost to replace all these signs just to virtue signal and pander? Yeah. Because we haven't already honored Jean-Baptiste Point de Sable in this city. Yeah.
Now, Jerry, let me ask you a question. How many people came out to vote for mayor last time around?
30%.
Okay. Do we remember how many people that was, approximately?
Out of Chicago's population at the time?
Yeah.
Can you do a quick Google search of population 2019 Chicago?
Sure.
You do that. I'm going to continue with this. Oh, back in the live chat. Okay, Lioness Den says she is very serious. I have this channel too. Do I encourage you to check it out whenever time permits, and you will see? Okay, I'll check it out. What channel? Please post it in the live chat. We'll check it out.
Okay. It was more than the total population in 2019 was 2.691 million, but that's not all adults. So I don't know, what would that 30% be of registered voters?
Yeah.
Okay. Registered voters. 19.
So Lioness Den is dropping some interesting accolades or some interesting, what do we call this, heritage here. We are Chicago royalty. The Obamas are like my cousin-in-laws. Yes, my grandparents are Noir royalty too. And my A1 Day 1 is legendary Revolutionary Chairman Fred Hampton Jr. Interesting.
Okay.
Cool. My channel is First Sergeant Dobie, also known as Lioness Den. I am here in this chat from my channel, so you can click my avatar. I will do that. If I click it from here, it's not going to open because I'm in StreamYard. But I will remember. I'm actually going to copy. Can I copy it here? Let me type it here so I check it out. I'm very curious to see this. And thank you for sharing. At Lioness Den.
Okay, so that would have been the 2018 election,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right, there were 1.494 million registered voters, 452,529 ballots cast. Now, for this snowplow contest, 80,000 people voted.
Whoa. Priorities, Chicago?
So, like...
Good to go there, Ed.
So, like, what is that? I can't do math. But, like, you know, if we could get those people, all the people who voted for snowplows, and then all the people who voted last time, and then anyone else who really wants a change who to come out and actually vote this time.
So, Lioness Den, I did just save both of your IDs, Lioness Den and First Sergeant Dobie. I will check them out after the show. Thank you for sharing. And Screw Google is asking, are you on Revolutionary Blackout channel? Looks like Screw Google is able to check out your channel. RBN hosted, or Sabby Sabs is on there. We'll check that out. Let me finish this article though real quickly before we close the show. Ed, I'm glad where you went with that. Very, very good perspective. Signs for the winning plows will be installed immediately. According to the city, residents who are submitting the winning names will be invited to take a photo with their snowplow and also pick up city swag. I wonder if it's going to be Lori Lightfoot re-election campaign swag that they're going to be giving out. We couldn't be happier with the high level of resident engagement we received for our we couldn't be happier
With the high level of resident engagement we received for our first snowplow naming contest,
Lightfoot said in a news release.
What's more, the love of Chicago really shined through with numerous and creative Chicago-related names that were submitted, but definitely not Lord Slushington J. Shovelsworth III, because I hate that peg-leg bastard.
The city has 300 snow vehicles and 400,000 tons of salt standing by in piles across the city, according to a news release. A new live tracker allows Chicagoans to keep up with the plows they named. Will it? How many times have we reported on the snow, on the plow trackers that are showing they're not going into the neighborhoods on the south and west sides? They're not clearing the snow there as much as they are up on the paler north side neighborhoods. Residents can call 311 to get snow removed. And we have a video from Twitter. I don't know if it's going to play the audio. Let's see. Audio?
Not hearing it.
All right. Well, we tried.
What did they say?
Chicago, you voted for your favorite snowplow names. The results are in, and the winners are. Here, I'll send you the link, and maybe you can open it up. I just don't know anymore with my goddamn browser. Oh, this is an Instagram link, so.
Oh, Insta. Fun.
Hang on, let me open it here.
So, while Jerry's working on sending me that link, I would like to once again thank all of our Patreon supporters for donating and becoming Patreons for Chicago Corner. If you'd like to support Chicago Corner, head to patreon.com/Chicago Corner.
And Warren wants to share a very, very important piece of trivia. Plow Tracker was his 70s porn name. I sent you the Block Club article in the private chat, Ed. You got to scroll down and click that open.
Oh, I see it. Okay, hold on.
Beetlefoot, face fuchsia, tongue out. Screw Ghoul, are you drinking? Someone's having a good time tonight. Thank you very much, Lioness Den. We're delighted to have you here. She's delighted to have found our channel. The frequency is real. Please, if you like our channel, at the very least, share it on your social media. If you have Twitter and Facebook, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the like and subscribe button below. If you like us enough and want to toss us $5 a month as a Patreon, you can go to our Patreon channel, our Patreon link, and subscribe to us there to help us. Otherwise, we're just happy to have you here. We tune into frequencies like a radio. All right, so... yeah, and Ed'll probably bring up that. Here we go. You want to play it from that end?
I can get it to come up here. That's not.
That's your side.
What is going on here? Oh, okay. I do have it. Okay.
Yeah, just click the play.
Sorry.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it. Yep, we're good for the next couple of days. Yeah, I'll get back to you. Thanks again. Bye. Oh, hi there. It's Cole Stallard, Commissioner, Department of Streets and Sanitation. A lot of folks have called dibs on their favorite snowplow name. Winning names. Have you named a snowplow contest? You've all been waiting for it. Number 7, Jean Baptiste Point, Michelle. Number 6, Holy Plow. Number 5, Sweet Home Chicago.
He's just repeating what we read, but doing it backwards.
Number 4,
Go ahead.
Sears
Flower.
Number 3, going back to 1985.
Hey, at least it was the Sears plower and not the Willis plower.
Coming in at number 2,
Yeah.
again, a reference back to that 1985 glory years. The plow. Number 1. I think I said this from the beginning. Miss O'Leary's plow.
All right, that's a good number 1.
You know,
I'm sure Pegleg would approve.
Names in a row I listed.
Does Pegleg approve? Does Pegleg at least approve of number 1?
I think he'd be okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah. Although, it's based on a lie.
All right, everybody, that's our show. Ed, thank you for joining me tonight. My voice is a little better. I managed to get through it without wanting to end the broadcast early and go crawl into my bed. My voice is coming back. Still can't quite get away with the Lori Lightfoot imitations yet. But I'm
happy to be a backup.
Yes, well, a worthy. Actually, you are our main Lori Lightfoot. I just jump in when I see an opportunity that you don't have a quote to read from. So, anyway, that's it, everybody. So we had a really good strategy meeting the other day with Kira, as we often do on Thursdays. Ed, Kira, and I want to address the issue regarding getting guests on our show. We have made extraordinary efforts to reach out to all of the candidates. Kira has made extraordinary efforts in follow-up. We resolved last night, despite the fact we're not getting as many people to respond. A few have. Commissioner Johnson's campaign has been responsive. Jamal Green's campaign has been responsive. Roderick Sawyer's campaign has been responsive. It's just very, very difficult for the candidates to work around their schedules to come on our Tuesday and Friday shows. Now, let me say this too. It's not for any lack of them being out there sharing their platforms with all of the voters. I have been incredibly impressed with the amount of time that all the candidates are putting into going to public mayoral forums, being out in public, being regularly engaged on social media. As much as I would like to have more candidates come on our show to interview, it's not about us. We like talking with them, but we can just as easily share and point to the forums where they are sharing their platforms, where public and voters can also engage and ask questions. So we're doing our best to get more guests on the show, but let's keep in mind that they do have really, really busy schedules, especially in these last 3 weeks up to the February 28th election. So we hope we'll be making some announcements with bringing some of those candidates on, especially in relation to having them answer the questions posed in our Chicago Corner manifesto that Ed has been maintaining with input from you, the viewers in our live chat. But, let's be honest here. We're a little 1,500 subscriber show. And at any given time during a live show, we've got 11, 15 viewers watching live, which I'm happy for. I'm grateful for. We normally get anywhere from 80 to 150 views on a live show after it's been broadcast on YouTube. So let's keep in mind the candidates do have to prioritize the larger outlets by which their messages can be heard. So just want to give people an update. We're working on it. We hope to have a few more candidates on, but if we don't, it's not because they're ignoring us. Well, some are ignoring us, not all. But they've all got really busy schedules. So I wanted to cut them some slack and understand that as much as we'd like to have them on, and hopefully we'll have a few more on, just keep your eyes on all the different mayoral forums happening. I know that People's Response Network is going to be sponsoring another forum. I want to say February 16th. It's a Thursday. I think it's a Thursday. Unfortunately, we cannot cover that because Ed works and I can't go out and live stream for him on my own. Otherwise, we would be there. So yeah, that's what's going on. So just keep your ears to the ground, watch YouTube, check social media. The candidates, especially, I have to say how impressed I am by Green and Johnson maintaining regular social media presence, especially on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, aside from some last minute comments in the live chat, Kira, thanks to Screw Google. Good to see you. Screw Google says to Kira, good night, Mama Kira, and congrats. Kira's been tuned in for the whole show. It's good to see you, sweetie. Sorry you can't be here. No, you need the time off. That's going to be our show. Anything you want to share, Ed?
If you're interested in anything like the Chicago Corner Manifesto, or just to get an idea on what we're tweeting from the Twitter account, or any of the links that we have available, or want a show update, or looking for us, ChicagoCornerTV.com. And we got links there for the Chicago Corner Manifesto. We got a few community support links in there. I think we got the YouTube page embedded in there. We got links to the Rockfin, the Patreon. What else? I think there's even a link to Pegleg's poem in there. If you guys never heard his Great Chicago Fire poem, where he blames the whole thing on Santa Claus, that's a fun listen, and you can read along with it. What else is going on? Oh, if you want to learn how to make Chicago style pizza at home, head to realdeepdish.com. And I just recently fixed the expanded menu. So if you're looking for more stuff than's just on the front page, now you can find all the other things, like you want to know how to make Italian sausage for deep dish, or just a quick one with you go grab some ground pork and add the spices and stuff. There's instructions for that on there. You got all the recipes. You got my snarky humor. There's even a video you can watch that's kind of entertaining. What else?
I want to share something too. I added a new playlist to our YouTube channel.
Oh, great.
Our YouTube channel, we've got a lot of stuff here. We've got our, all Chicago Corner videos, 2023 Chicago mayoral race-related videos, aldermanic race interviews, which we will hopefully have. I actually was contacted by an aldermanic candidate on LinkedIn. We'll hopefully have her on soon. Now, here's the new area. Here's the new playlist that I will be regularly adding to that's not Chicago Corner content, but I think valuable viewing for all of you. I'm calling it recommended programming from other content creators. These are videos I've come across on YouTube that I think our audience should view, and I know that they will appreciate. One was on how incompetent trauma treatment sometimes was it. Let me click through. I won't play. I want to get the title here. These are just the first ones that I found. Incompetent trauma treatment is sometimes all the system allows. This is a human rights issue, since we're always talking about treatment, not trauma. Another video there was Tim Dillon's legendary rant on Lori Lightfoot and her Yelp adventures. Another video that I came across was Stoicism's tips for solving problems with people if you're ever dealing with difficult people. So as I come across fun and interesting or amusing videos on YouTube, I will put them in that playlist in the interest of other viewers to check out and hopefully enjoy as I have, because I think that they are valuable videos from other content creators.
Great. Oh, yeah.
Let's also make sure to promote tonight. Let me open it here. We've got Warren's program coming up. Has it already started?
I think it just started, but it's always easy to rewind and play the first part back at time and a half speed to catch up. So,
okay,
if you guys are interested in this paranormal stuff, he's got this new channel
that's loading. I think the aliens have taken over it. It's not loading very easily.
Yeah, it's probably one of the conspiracies we'll eventually talk about on the show.
Yeah, I'll wait for that to load. Oh, he's in pre-show here. Here we go.
Oh, so we got plenty of time. He's got the countdown going.
He'll be on in 14 minutes. There was a really cool title screen I was looking at a moment ago before that started with the new show's logo. Let's see if I can find it here. Come on. Oh, well, anyway, Mundus Ultra Sneak Peek Secret Show Special. That'll be coming up at...
in about 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes. All right. Sorry, we can't show you more there. He's on a countdown. So we're going to finish our show so that we can free you all up to go check out Warren's show. We will be back here next Tuesday. Ed? Oh, Robinson, thank you. We got a $3 super sticker. Thank you so much. And sharing in the chat there, Ed Heller is sharing the link to Warren's show. Ed, thanks again for joining me tonight. To our audience out there, we will be returning next Tuesday. As we like to say, or as Kira's log off was, see you next Tuesday. Ed, thanks for joining me tonight. In the meantime, to the rest of Chicago, please make sure as you go into the weekend that you take care, watch out for each other, be vigilant, be safe, and remember if it's happening on the streets, you'll always hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Stay safe, everyone.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
She must be voted out.